Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 76 of our WWE 2021 Save and TEW 2020. This is Raw for week 3 in December, and I know this is one you guys have been waiting for based on how things finished at the Mae Young Classic, which, again, if you have not watched the Mae Young Classic, night 1 and night 2, do not watch this episode because it will spoil some of the things that certainly happened on that show that have been talked about, to say the least. So be sure to watch that, and I appreciate all the great response to that because it was something a little different that we tried at the Mae Young Classic, and I think it worked well, but we'll see how things play out from here. We got a lot going on this episode, and now for Raw, we are on the road to Armageddon because that is going to take place December week 4. And I'm just going to go ahead and point out before we jump into this episode, like this Armageddon pay-per-view, Raw has been in an interesting spot. We've gone straight from a dual-branded pay-per-view of Survivor Series, another pay-per-view in the Mae Young Classic that we've built up on Raw. Now, we're 2 weeks, we go into Armageddon, which is a Raw-branded pay-per-view, and then we go back to another dual-branded pay-per-view at the Royal Rumble a month from now. So Raw has essentially had 4 pay-per-views in the span of 2 months. So there will be quite a bit added to this card, to the Armageddon card on this particular episode of Raw. So let's jump in. We start with the pre-show. Chad Gable gets the win over Mansoor, 642-53 a match here. Second week in a row, Gable's been on the pre-show, but as you'll see, that is going to change, and really it's been just a matter of juggling things with trying to fit everything in on Raw. But plenty to come for our friend Chad Gable, who sort of started his turnaround, if you will, after losing that rematch to Kevin Owens in that U.S. title open challenge. So again, you'll see. We're not done with Chad Gable, actually, on this episode. You'll see more Chad Gable, but wrestling-wise, he gets a pre-show win here in a 53 match. All right, we start off Raw, and we're going to start off Raw in a way that we have not yet started off Raw in our series, because for the first time ever, Seth Rollins, a Smackdown competitor, is going to immediately walk in as Raw comes on the air. There's no music, and here comes Seth Rollins. And Seth goes right over, grabs a microphone, hops into the ring, and he is going off on Roman Reigns, who, as we know, in the shocking conclusion to Night 2 of the Mae Young Classic, Roman Reigns slides into the ring wearing a hood over his head and hits a spear on Becky Lynch. And that set off a course of events that has now led to Seth Rollins coming to Raw and just going off on Roman Reigns to kind of further what's been going on SmackDown. And Rollins just completely losing it here on Reigns, calling him a coward. Basically, how could you do this? How? And why would you sink this low to do what you did last night? And Rollins just going on and on, calling him out, telling him to, get his ass out here. And he knows that if he's going to show up at the Mae Young Classic, why wouldn't you show up at Raw to meet me right here like a man? And so Rollins just, again, you can just see it on his face. The man has not slept. He is just completely boiling over here. We get a 97 for that. And then in a 96 segment, Rollins is delivering here. Seth Rollins, he snaps. He throws down the microphone. He realizes Roman Reigns is nowhere to be found. And he just starts destroying the ringside area out of frustration. And Rollins has just snapped. Like, he has completely lost it here. And that brings out Stone Cold Steve Austin, who comes down, with a host of officials here. Rollins just destroying the ringside area. Austin's just trying to talk some sort of sense into him. And it's just not happening. Rollins just continuing to destroy the announce table. He's throwing stuff everywhere. And he's just, again, he is just completely snapped until finally Rollins just sort of gathers himself a little bit and then just stares at Austin and then just walks into the crowd again and out and away he goes. So we know that Roman Reigns has set this whole feud with Seth Rollins into another dimension. And what happens next, we will see. All right, so back-to-back Seth 97, 96 on the segments here. An unbelievable start to the show. Austin is looking around ringside, and everything is just destroyed. As Rollins is now gone, we see Austin kind of looking around the ring, just kind of putting his hands on his head, trying to figure out what he's going to do here. As that's going on, we cut to Michael Cole, who is announcer tableless. There is no table for Cole anymore, or Graves. They are just sitting there. Everything has been destroyed. And Cole quickly provides an update on Becky Lynch, saying that, they can't really give further details right now on Becky's situation. And they will continue to provide updates as, on her situation and when fans can expect Becky Lynch to return. And Cole also notes that we have also, by directives of WWE, have been, ordered not to show the replay. We will not show the replay of what happened last night at the Mae Young Classic. All we will show you is this little tiny, replay here of Becky Lynch being checked on by the WWE medical team. So we see this being played out, and we also see Seth Rollins making his way to the ring. In kind of a very unique moment after the Mae Young Classic went off the air. So that's all we know. We don't, know anything else at this moment. We can't give you an update, and we will provide more details as we get them on the current status of Becky Lynch. So a 73 here for this one. And as I said, Steve Austin trying to figure out everything going on around the ring. Well, my goodness, what a start to this Raw, because we have just gotten chaos all over the place as Austin is around the ring, and here comes Edge, who also comes out. There's no music, and Edge just starts stumbling down to the ring. Now remember, what happened to Edge on last week's Raw, which I know feels like a century ago now, given everything that's happened. Edge took the concerto from AJ Styles, and now it is Edge kind of stumbling down. You can tell Edge is just not completely himself here, and he is just kind of making his way down to the ring. Randy Orton is beside him, trying to talk some sense into him, and this is where we have Edge, who goes over. Austin is just kind of surveying the landscape here after Seth Rollins destroyed everything, and Edge grabs a microphone. Orton's trying to just kind of, you can tell he's just kind of holding off Edge here, and he's trying to talk some sense into him, but it's not working. And Edge grabs a microphone, and he goes off on AJ Styles, telling him to come on out, meet him in the ring. He's ready to finish this once and for all. And once Edge realizes that's not going to happen, Edge says, well, let me tell you guys a little something. Everybody wanted to know last week, why was Randy Orton not out there to help me when AJ Styles, hit me in the head with a chair? And that's when you see Orton start seething a little bit. And that's when, Edge kind of reveals that's because Adam Cole was back there attacking Randy Orton. And then we start to realize Orton, the camera zooms in, we've got a little bit of a cut on Orton's head. So that is why, if you were wondering, we kind of played that up last week. Where was Orton? Well, it turns out Adam Cole had attacked Randy Orton backstage. And so that had prevented Orton from making the save on AJ Styles. And Edge says he's tired of all this. He's tired of the backstage attacks. He's tired of the chairs. He's tired of everything. He says, we're going to end this once and for all, and we're going to do it at Armageddon. And that's when Edge tells AJ Styles, Adam Cole, Finn Balor, 3-on-3, street fight, Armageddon, it all comes to an end. And Edge looks around, and you can just tell Edge is just not all there right now. But he just starts yelling, and he's just saying, I know, it's only two of us. It's me, it's Randy Orton, but don't you worry. I've got a third man that's going to join us at Armageddon to beat you guys' asses. So Austin's just standing around the ring, and you can tell Austin's just kind of looking around like, what has happened to my show, 20 minutes in here. And that is, when Edge and Orton just start to walk out of the ring, Austin's just staring around. And so Edge has delivered, I guess, a challenge here to the Bullet Club and AJ Styles, Adam Cole, Finn Balor for a 3-on-3 street fight at Armageddon. And we will see kind of how that plays out from here. But an 86 for this one. And so that is quite a start to Raw, as Austin has just lost all control. And Seth Rollins comes out. He's lost it. Edge has lost it. Chaos everywhere on Raw. So quite a start. And then we jump in to a tag team match here, as it is the Mysterios. I don't know how they're going to follow up what just happened on Raw with everything going on. It's the Mysterios getting the win over the Dirty Dogs, 65 overall on this one. This came about after the Dirty Dogs were told by Michael Cole had requested a rematch from these two fighting a month ago on Raw, and it was the Mysterios getting a win in that one. They get the win again here. Sorry to any Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode fans out there. I don't want to say they become jobbers, but I just have it's just not happening with them right now with any sort of stories whatsoever. I've tried. It's just not happening. And I'm a huge fan of both. It's just, for some reason, I think the way WWE has booked them in reality is just taking all motivation I have for trying to book them in any sort of way. But maybe that'll change at some point soon. I mean, we may need that to happen, given what we're going to do with our tag team division. So, Mysterios get the win here, but the bigger story is what comes after. Because once again, we see Angel Garza, who is back out in the front row, and yet again, just as we saw last week, it is Garza, going over and just kind of yelling. He's just standing in the front row, wearing his suit. He's cheering on Dominic, and he is, just telling Dominic, "Good job. You get another win here." And that's when Rey Mysterio, who you could tell was a little upset by this last week, goes over and just gets in Angel Garza's face. He's not sure. You can tell Rey doesn't like the intentions here of whatever Angel Garza is doing. All of a sudden, he's popped up out of nowhere the past couple weeks, and he's just cheering on Dominic Mysterio. Rey doesn't like it. He gets in Angel Garza's face, and then, yet again, it is Rey who kind of goes over to sort of shield Dominic from everything going on. And then the Mysterios make their way to the back with Garza just sort of smiling as that happens. So, plenty more to come on this, but we have the common thread, back-to-back weeks, Angel Garza rooting on Dominic Mysterio. What is going on there? We will find out. 62 for this one. And then it is Chad Gable, who has made his way into Steve Austin's office. Austin, again, this guy you can tell he's having a Steve Weiser after the start to this show. He doesn't know, he's just kind of sitting back there. Gable comes in, and Gable wants advice from Austin. He's like, Steve, I know you've been through a lot tonight. I know a lot's going on, but I need some advice from you. I'm trying to sort of get my career turned around here. You've seen me in all these matches with Kevin Owens. You know what I can do. I want, more of a shot. I want to get back to being, one of the best wrestlers here on Raw. And Austin says, Austin's just drinking to Steve Weiser. Again, Austin's flustered now, everything that's gone on. And he tells Gable that next week he's going to do him a favor. He's going to point him in the right direction next week. And he says, I promise you, we'll get you on the right track next week, Chad. So that's Austin's kind of tease for next week. He is going to point Gable in the right direction to try to get his career on track here and maybe get to the top of the Raw roster. So 72, nice segment here for this one with Chad Gable and Steve Austin. And then we go to Edge and Randy Orton, who are backstage, and this is where Orton once again is trying to talk some sense into Edge. He's saying, Edge, we talked about this before you came out tonight. This was not a good idea, and I, just like you, I want to get my revenge on Adam Cole. I want to get my revenge, on the Bullet Club, but we need to do it our way. We don't need to do it based off of, reacting to what they do to us. And Orton, it's not happening. Edge is not accepting it. He's saying, it's fine. We're going to take care of it. We're going to take care of it at Armageddon. And then Orton's like, okay, but this whole partner, you've told me, are you sure about this? I'm not sure about this partner. I'm not going to be a big fan of this partner. And that's when Edge is like, you're just going to have to get over it. This is what we're doing. This is what we need to take out the Bullet Club at Armageddon. And again, Orton's just saying, I think you should reconsider this. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't trust him. And that is when Edge says, don't you worry. It's fine. I trust him. He'll be on our side. There's nothing to worry about. And so a little back and forth here, and really the first time we've had this a little tension between Edge and Randy Orton since they came together back in August. But you can tell Orton not very thrilled with whoever this partner choice is that Edge has in mind. And it's just Edge continuing to reassure him, we'll take care of this, we'll take care of it on our terms, and we'll have this partner who will take care of us and help us take down the Bullet Club. So 75 here for this segment, and so Edge has something in mind, and we will find out what that's going to be as the challenge has been laid down. Will the Bullet Club accept? We will find out later on. All right, and then an 81 here, but again, I'm not shocked by this as we have put this trio together again. Big E, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan getting the win over Dijak, John Morrison, and Shelton Benjamin. Goes 941. Big E hits the big ending on John Morrison to get the win. And just great stuff across the board here. Bryan with an 89, Big E with an 80, 76 in-ring performances. So good stuff here. An 81, I mean, that's a main event level match for us. And this happens in the middle of the show because our main event tonight is going to be Sheamus and Finn Balor, as we know. That was set up last week. But a big, another trios win here. We should bring in the trios titles. I'm just kidding. That's not happening. But as you'll see, there's more to come on this. But these three put together again, and they've each talked about, over the past week or two now, their desire to have their shot at the WWE Championship, and perhaps they will get it because after the match, this leads to a big announcement as it is Stone Cold Steve Austin who appears on the Titantron, and Austin announces that we will have at Armageddon in what is going to be one of our big main events, which will that also include the 3-on-3 street fight? We'll find out. It is going to be a triple threat #1 contenders match at Armageddon between Big E, Daniel Bryan, and Cesaro, with the winner going on to the Royal Rumble to take on the WWE Champion, which as it stands right now is Edge. So a huge match between these three, a triple threat between what it's been three of our hottest kind of stars in the company right now, because what's interesting about this is when I check the momentum, everyone kind of who has the most momentum, the three guys at the top, Big E, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, they are the three that when you go to like the creative section, you go to the momentum, who's hot or whatever, these three at the top. So now they're going to square off with each other in a triple threat match for a shot at the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. So a 91 here for this one. We've had some really good segments. I think this could be an all-timer for Raw if we're able to have a great main event. But so that's your setup. And what a match this is going to be is all three of these guys in the ring just kind of looking around at each other, kind of giving the nod. What a battle this could be in a triple threat match at Armageddon. So a huge match announced there. Who will win and to go on to perhaps meet Edge at the Royal Rumble. Big match announced for Armageddon. And then backstage, we should have scripted these two. We didn't. It is Montez Ford who is sitting back there, and boy, are we seeing a dejected Montez Ford as he is just watching the television here, and he just saw the announcement of Steve Austin announcing this triple threat #1 contenders match, between Big E, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan. And that, of course, brings back the memories of last week, which we thought we had a new champion with Montez Ford pinning Edge 1, 2, 3, only to realize that the decision would be reversed with Edge barely at 2.99, getting his foot underneath the ropes. The match restarts, Edge gets the win and retains the WWE Championship. And this is where Dawkins is kind of watching Ford, watch this announcement from Austin, and he's trying to motivate Ford again. Look, you've got to be able to bounce back from this. Like, you can do it. You're going to get there. Don't you worry. This is just a setback. And really, this is just Dawkins kind of playing, best friend here, trying to cheer up his buddy to get him back on the right track after just a devastating defeat last week and having the title taken away from him after having it in his hands. The match restarts, the belt's taken away. And then Ford, is just kind of sitting there. You can just tell he's not really into this. But Dawkins says, look, we've got to get ready. I've got a match tonight. And then, listen, I talked to Steve Austin. We got a big match at Armageddon. And he says, he's allowed us, to get back in the tag team title chase here because we've got new tag team champions, and the next challenger comes from Raw, and he says that's going to give us an opportunity because I got us a match to get back in the championship picture, and we're going to take on the Lucha Brothers at Armageddon. So there's another match just added now that we've heard, the Lucha Brothers versus the Street Profits. That will take place at Armageddon, and Dawkins says this is going to give us our shot at the tag team champions at the Royal Rumble. So another match added now, and like I said, we're having to add a lot in this episode because of just the nature of jumping between all these different pay-per-views. But that's Dawkins' way of trying to motivate Montez Ford. But right now, you can tell it's just not happening. 63 on this, and as Dawkins mentioned, he did have a match versus Shane Thorne here. Pretty much your, typical easy win for Dawkins. Getting a 728 here with the pinfall. Powerbomb does it. So this is just kind of giving, Dawkins a match here. We haven't really had him a lot in singles action, and coming off the Ford loss, we kind of keep him out of the ring and really just playing up what's going on with him here as we move forward. So Dawkins gets the win. Match set. Lucha Brothers, Street Profits winner also gets a tag team title match here coming up in the near future. And then backstage, it is Sonia Deville, who is just as happy as can be despite losing, in her match against Becky Lynch at the Mae Young Classic in the semifinals. Deville says, look, singles-wise, we maybe did not go as far as we wanted to in the Mae Young Classic, but she says, what I do know is no one has been able to stop me and Shayna Baszler as a duo, and what I also know is that no one is going to be able to stop me, Shayna Baszler, and Mandy Rose as a trio, and this is where we kind of get Sonya going into the story of these two having their match, Sonya and Mandy, what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago on Raw, and how they both realized after that match that they are much better together than they are apart. That led to Mandy making the turn, as we saw at the Mae Young Classic, where she turned on Paige and sort of all the history there. And so now we clearly have Mandy Rose joining up with her former friend Sonya Deville and her tag team partner now Shayna Baszler in this this group here that on the surface seems like they're going to be very tough to handle. So it's basically just Sonya, kind of pumping up this new group she's assembled here between these three. So 63, but as they finish up, it is Sonya who looks over backstage and realizes that Stone Cold Steve Austin is standing there. And Austin is just smiling. It's Sonya, Shayna, and Mandy here, and he just continues to sort of give that grin on his face, and he just is smiling at him, and Austin just continues to walk down the hallway, and Deville is just, she wants to know why. Like, what is he smiling at? Why is he smiling at us? What is going on here? And she says she's going to get to the bottom of this. So Austin smiling for some reason. What does he have up his sleeve? We will find out. 66 for this one. All right, and then we should have put, scripting on Sasha here. Usually it works when we don't. But Pat McAfee he's caught up with Sasha Banks here, wants to know about her loss to Rhea Ripley. And Sasha says, look, it was a big match. I'm not going to lie. I'm disappointed. I thought I could beat her, but it just was not my night on Sunday night at the Mae Young Classic. But she says, I've got a plan, and I'm going to be back on top of the WWE Women's Division very soon. And Sasha leaves it at that. She says she has a plan, and she will get back on top of the Women's Division in WWE, and she will, perhaps get another opportunity at Rhea Ripley. So just kind of, a nice segment here, 69 overall, as it sort of Sasha just, wanted to give a promo here after her loss to Ripley. That was a big match, and Sasha really stressing that she has a plan. So what is her plan? We'll see. Then, here we go. It is the U.S. title open challenge, and if you're wondering why I didn't do the usual pre-segment of kind of revealing who the opponent was, I just did not have enough space in this episode. There was nowhere to put any other segments, so unfortunately we just had to get the less anticlimactic setup here, which is LA Knight is the one who accepts the U.S. title open challenge, as it is Kevin Owens getting another win to retain his title. But how does he do it? He does it because he wins by disqualification, as Austin Theory, who we saw had the challenge last week, and Owens beat Austin Theory. It is Theory who is back, and he attacks Kevin Owens to force the disqualification here. So Owens wins the match, does it by DQ, so he retains his title. But a great match, 77 here between these two, as Owens just continues to deliver, and we've certainly, of course, made this NXT month for the U.S. Title Open Challenge. That was Owens' stipulation, and so LA Knight coming up from NXT. Thank goodness it's no Max Dupree. And it is Theory coming back, though. What is Austin Theory doing back here? He lost his match last week. We know he's in NXT, but what is he doing back here and interfering in this match? Well, we're going to find out, because after the match, it is Austin Theory who tells Kevin Owens, he grabs a microphone and he says, Kevin, next week, I'm coming back to Raw, and I'm coming back with my dad. And Owens is just, he's pissed because he just got attacked in his match, even though he retains the title. And look, Theory says he'll be back. So what's going to happen when Theory brings, quote unquote, his dad with him next week to Raw? So a 67 on this one, and don't worry, plenty more to come with this whole kind of development here with Austin Theory. So, and then we go to a video. And we are back. It is Weekend at Bayley's. The vacation videos continue. And it is Bayley and sort of a fun little bit here as we see video of Bayley sitting down to watch the Mae Young Classic. And you see her mood change each video cut we have here. So we starts off, Bayley's just thrilled, calling everyone idiots for taking part in this tournament. And then we see her mood start to go down as she sees the return of Rhea Ripley. And then, she looks and she's laughing at Sasha Banks losing, but then, she continues to go on and she's watching Becky Lynch advance. She's watching Rhea Ripley advance. We get all these sort of quick video cuts of her reaction to all this until finally Bayley's face just with a blank stare as she sees Rhea Ripley win, and she shuts off, the video watching the tournament right after Rhea Ripley defeats Becky Lynch to win the Mae Young Classic. So you're seeing kind of everything setting in motion here of what's to come. And Bayley not happy about the return of Rhea Ripley. And she shows it here with her reaction to the Mae Young Classic. So sort of a live reaction of Bayley. It went downhill pretty quick as she saw the winner. So 68 on this one. And that is going to lead us into our official Mae Young Classic trophy celebration. Steve Austin back out. What a night he's had. And Austin officially presents the Mae Young Classic trophy to Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley, just has made such a huge jump. I'm going to be honest with you guys. You'll see. You are going to be, I don't know if you'll be stunned, but when you see the popularity boost that Rhea Ripley got from winning that tournament, it is pretty remarkable. And we'll see that, of course, at the end of December when we do our State of WWE for January. But an unbelievable popularity boost to where her standing in our company now is pretty ridiculous in terms of where she's at. So Austin has presented the trophy, and this is where Rhea Ripley grabs the microphone and says it as clear as possible. I had everything taken away from me at the King of the Ring 6 months ago. My ability to wrestle, my livelihood, and my championship belt. And she says giving up her championship the night after the King of the Ring was one of the hardest things she's ever had to do. And she remembers, having to hand that belt over to Stone Cold Steve Austin and the pain that not only she felt, in her leg from her injury, but just the pain of giving that title away and how much it had meant to her. Well, she says, I get to name my prize. I'm the winner of the Mae Young Classic, and I am coming back for something that I never lost. And so that is when Rhea Ripley officially says, I am announcing my prize. My demand is that I face Bayley one-on-one for the Women's Championship, the Raw Women's Championship that I never lost. I want my shot at Bayley, and I want it at Armageddon. And so, probably not surprising that this is what Rhea Ripley wanted as her prize, because it was her prize at one point, having never lost the championship. So, that is your setup. and we will see how this continues to develop here as we continue on the road to Armageddon. So 70 overall for this segment. And then backstage, Pat McAfee with Sheamus getting ready for our main event here, and it is Sheamus going on a rant about how much he hates Finn Balor. This was just sort of, I like how this is set up here. We used just sort of the traditional segment that wasn't a freestyle angle, but Sheamus just going off and saying, all this history with Balor from the very start when the Bullet Club formed. As we remember, Balor's first move was to do what? It's hit me with a chair. As soon as he decided to make his, return here on Raw, he comes back, he hits me with a chair. I've gotten my hands on him before, but now I'm finally going to get my hands on him and beat him down for good. So this sort of Sheamus, very angry Sheamus, who is just, the back and forth with the Bullet Club, everything that's gone on with Finn Balor, and now he wants to settle it in our main event. So it's set up 66 here for this, and we are ready for our main event. Finn Balor versus Sheamus, one that's been in the works here for a little bit because of Sheamus. He's wanted this match, he's been requesting it, and finally he gets it one-on-one. Balor and Sheamus in our main event, and in a very good main event. I knew this would be the case. I knew these two would work well together. 82 for our main event, as it is Finn Balor getting the win over Sheamus. It goes 15 minutes here. The Brain Buster does it. So this was kind of that, I don't want to say defining win, but we needed to start giving Balor, some singles wins here. It's going to be the same as you'll see with some of the stuff we have going on with the Bullet Club. This is one that, again, we wanted to kind of hold off on for a bit, but there was a reason why. But knowing we were going to get a great match out of it, we did. 82, I think I did set it for them to steal the show. They did. We had them call it in the ring. Both have good psychology, so everything kind of worked out here for these two to have a great match. And this is what we get in our main event. Balor getting his win over Sheamus to kind of give him, a significant singles win here that he really haven't had a whole lot because we've had these guys kind of paired together with the Bullet Club, of course. And they haven't wrestled a ton. It's because of the nature of the stories and everything we've had in motion. So this was important to do that. And so Balor gets the win, and that's going to finish us off with Raw with the Bullet Club celebrating. And that is when AJ Styles comes out and says they officially accept the Armageddon challenge for the 3-on-3 street fight against Edge, Randy Orton, and the partner they're choosing. And AJ says because the reason why is it doesn't matter who you choose, Edge, because it will not be able to compare to the Bullet Club because the Bullet Club is for life. We don't just bring in people here or there to serve as our partners. We don't just bring in random people. We have a bond. We have, everything has kind of come together for us. We'll always be family, and we are the Bullet Club, and we are for life. So kind of AJ pointing out that, look, it doesn't matter who Edge brings in. There's no way, they're going to have the sort of cohesiveness that the Bullet Club has now, and that's just kind of AJ playing that up here. So it's officially accepted. We do have one of our main events, because I'm going to keep saying one of our main events, because we got two big matches now. The 3-on-3 street fight, the Bullet Club versus Edge, Randy Orton, and a partner of their choosing going up, as one of our main events. And then we have the big triple threat number one contenders match between Big E, Daniel Bryan, and Cesaro. So big matches set up for Armageddon here, which I know have come together quickly, but that is kind of our setup heading into it. So we finish off with the Bullet Club. I'm sort of reiterating their path forward here now with this big 3-on-3 street fight at Armageddon. So 75 here for this one, and we do finish it up with what is our best show ever. What do you know? This is officially our best show yet, an 88 for this one, and a lot of it's going to be on the heels of Seth Rollins. We've got to give him some credit here because Seth had a hell of a night starting this thing off with a 97 and a 96, and everything delivered. I mean, really, this was, as we go along, this was easily, I could have understood why it was our best show ever. So an 88, that's going to top, what I was going to say, what was our previous one? Our previous one was like an 87, maybe 86? I don't know. So this is our best show ever. It's Raw, December week 3, but I guess when you consider coming out of Mae Young Classic, I wanted to make sure this show really delivered, given the events that took place there, and it did. So first two segments really delivered. Everything else you see through here, the number one contenders triple threat announcement, the main event was great. So a great show, a historic show as the best one in our save, ratings-wise, 88 for this episode of Raw. But let's see what we need to get to before we wrap up. All right, so Raw was awesome. Of course it was. It's their best show ever. It better be awesome. So that's good to know there. And let's check our email on this. Simone Johnson, the Rock's daughter, her contract is ending. We can't let the Rock's daughter get away. We will focus on that here. We've got our drug test fees for Raw. Raw gets a 4.05. That may actually be our best rating ever for Raw. I could be wrong. Drug test fees for the Mae Young Classic. I know, by the way, we'll look at the Mae Young Classic. These are the viewing figures because remember, we didn't do our usual wrap-up for the Mae Young Classic, given how that ended. And so I did want to note some of the stuff going on there. Raquel needed some time to heal, which she had multiple matches at the Mae Young Classic. So that's worth noting there on that one. We've already talked about some of these contracts, which I'll deal with. But yes, if you were wondering kind of what are the Mae Young Classic, what it finished up as, we did get an 80 for night 2 because, again, I didn't do my usual wrap-up. So we got an 80 for night 2, but as I said, this is going to be the best show we've had, is this Raw at an 88. So a tremendous episode of Raw, and that will take us into next week, which will be the go-home edition of Raw for Armageddon. But before we get there, we got SmackDown to get to, and in case you haven't noticed, going to be some interesting things going on SmackDown here moving forward, given the whole dynamic with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. But as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And on the next episode of this series, it will be SmackDown. And just as a note, I'll mention this in the other videos too, because I don't exactly know how I'm going to schedule these. I'm going to be traveling for pretty much the next week or so. So that's why I'm trying to record several of these before my schedule is going to be a little all over the place for the next week. So I wanted to get some of these put together. So they won't necessarily be as many maybe over the next week as there have been the past couple weeks, but I'll spread them out a little bit. That way you still have got some content flowing here on the channel. So on the next episode, though, of our WWE 2021 series, it will be SmackDown for Week 3 in December.